This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by Tracker, a coin-sized tracking device that pairs with your smartphone and keeps you from losing your most valued possessions. Visit thetracker.com right now and enter the promo code KNOWHOW to save 20% off any order. Today on Know-How,
we're going back to school.
Welcome to Know-How. It's a Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and do really bad Kamehamehas. I'm Father Robert Ballas here.
And I am Megan Maroney.
And for the next however many minutes it takes, we are going to be doing a solar eclipse of information into the welding glass.
I hope you have your glasses. Do not watch with your bare eyes.
Because Know-How knowledge will burn out your retinas.
It sure will.
That's what happened. Of course, folks, we are talking about the fact that very soon, in fact, before the next episode of Know-How, there will be a solar eclipse. Very rare occurrence. For most of us, this will be the only full solar eclipse that you'll be able to see in the United States. So I hope you're going to enjoy it.
Yes, but not with your bare eyeballs.
No.
You can burn them out.
Yes, you can. Actually, I know like number 13 welding glasses is what you can do. You can buy a pane, and I have one from the last partial solar eclipse that we had. But if you went to Maker Faire, any of the last two Maker Fairs, Intel booth was handing out little, they look like cellophane glasses. Those are actually perfect. You don't need a whole lot to watch the solar eclipse. I hope you are, though, because it's going to be awesome.
You can watch the shadows, too. Yeah. Be careful. It's probably too late to order them on Amazon, but they were selling some fake ones, which I think is horrendous.
That's messed up. That's really messed up because, I mean, the wrong type of filter or a filter that's not dense enough, you will permanently damage your vision. There is something else that you can do. If you have a phone with a modern camera, believe it or not, you can actually use this. You go off axis, so you don't film straight at the sun, but it's basically a pinhole camera. It will pinhole onto the sensor if you go off axis, and you can watch the and record the eclipse in real time. That's actually kind of cool. That's something that we did last time when it was a partial at the Brick House. Yeah, but we're not here to talk about the eclipse, because that's not the thing that's going to be on the minds of young people and adults alike. What's on our minds is the fact that right now is pretty much when back to school is happening.
I sent my two little birds off to 7th grade, my big bird off to 9th grade pretty soon on Monday. So yeah, I got them equipped with all the tech, and now I can share it with you.
Yeah, we've got on the campus. I actually live on a high school campus, and school starts next week. But we've already got students on campus because the robotics club has started early. And it's interesting because this is always a weird time when kids will start scoping out the tech that other kids have, and they'll either feel very happy with what they have or they'll feel very inadequate. I don't like that, but it's a good thing to make sure your kids at least have enough tech to properly interface with the educational machinery. And
public schools also will make sure that, if they have grants and such, they'll send all the kids with iPads. They'll give them all. I mean, that's what I think is ideal, if all the kids have the same tech and you don't have, the digital divide in the classroom. It's everywhere else. It doesn't need to be in the classroom as well.
Now, are your kids at a school where they'll all get a tablet at the start of the year?
Well, my boys are in public school and they get iPads. Which I'm not thrilled about. They don't come with keyboards. Maybe now that they're in 7th grade, they will. I mean, I have keyboards at home that I encourage them to use with their iPads, Bluetooth keyboards. And my daughter goes to the high school where my husband is a teacher. That's a private school, and that's BYOD. So it's part of, if you get financial aid to go to school, you'll get financial aid with the device as well. And I have also some tricks I'm going to tell you later about how you might want to pay for those devices as well.
It's not cheap. I mean, some of this tech can be kind of expensive. And then actually, that's one of the things about like our school. It's an iPad policy. I'm not really happy with how that's working out. They're very expensive, and I mean, kids break technology or lose it all the time. You lose a tablet, that's expensive. And like you said, because they don't come with keyboards and all the accessories that you need to turn a tablet into a working computer, sometimes it feels like we're giving them an incredibly limited piece of technology, which is why we're going to go over some alternatives. Now, this works if you've got someone going to college, going to high school. We wanted to show you a little bit of something for everyone. And that means we're going to be covering a Chromebook. We're going to be covering, of course, a MacBook. And we're going to be looking at a couple of Windows machines. Folks, we do this because we love you. Let's start with the Chromebook. Now, Chromebooks have made the rounds recently because A, they're incredibly cost effective. I mean, compared to a tablet, you can get an incredibly useful Chromebook that does way, way more at way, way less and is actually just as manageable. This is what we're starting to see at my school, which is we can get Chromebooks for half the price that will last longer, that will do more. This is the one that I'm looking at right now. This is the Acer Chromebook R13. Now, if you go to the overhead, Alex, this little monster, I mean, I wasn't really big on Chromebooks, but they've done a really good job with this. So this is a 13.3-inch 1920 by 1080. It's a touchscreen, which is kind of cool. IPS, 170 degrees of visibility, so it's got a really nice wide viewing angle. It's using a MediaTek quad core. It's an ARM Cortex A72/A53. It's a multi-processor, 4 gigabytes of LPDDR3 memory. It's not expandable, unfortunately. 64 gigabytes of internal storage, plus a microSD card reader in case you want to do pictures or expanded storage. 802.11 ABG and AC, 720p web camera, plus a ton of ports. If you go to the side view, Alex, they've included one USB-C port, HDMI, a USB 3 port, of course, that microSD slot reader, and a combo audio port on the other side, along with a rocker switch. So it really does work kind of like an Android phone in that sense.
What's a rocker switch?
This controls volume. So this is actually two switches, like up and down, up and down. iPhone used to have this back like on the 3, right? The 3S before they got rid of it, or maybe even the 4. I think it stopped after the 4. The other thing is this is 3.28 pounds, so it's nice and light. It's got a 3-cell 4670 milliamp hour battery. That's good enough for 10 to 12 hours of battery life. And the cool thing about this is it actually is a tablet.
It doesn't detach, it just folds back.
It folds back, but it will do all the auto rotation. And because of the fact that this is part of the beta program, this also means that I can run Android apps. So any app that runs on an Android device will run on this tablet.
That's nice. How does it feel to have the keyboard against your lap, like when you're playing with it?
It's actually okay. The thing is, people have to get used to the fact that it's not actually going to activate. They're worried that they're tapping the keys. When you fold it back like this, it disables both the trackpad and the keyboard, so it really does work like a tablet. And here's the thing: this thing's $400. It's cheaper than most of the tablets that I've ever purchased. Sorry, no, I'm not starting this. This is an addictive game. And I also love the fact that it's USB-C. I've been transferring all of my equipment over to USB-C. I love the fact that it has a USB-C port, that it charges off a USB-C port. We're going to get to some of that power accessory later on. But this I think it's a pretty good device to start with if you're looking at back to school. And actually, I bought some of these for my parents because I wanted a device that couldn't get viruses, but would be easy enough for them to use. And yeah, it's not bad.
So the drawbacks, I mean, if you are taking a Photoshop class, could you run Photoshop on it?
No.
Could you edit video?
No.
Okay. So is there good, I mean, you have docs, there's good typing programs. So for people that are mostly doing...
If you are in the Google ecosystem, this is golden. But yeah, you're not going to be running a video editing suite. You can do photo editing. It's not great. A Chromebook is designed to run applications really off the web. It can run them internally, and this does have way more power than Chromebooks of old. But just know that the whole idea of this is taking the really heavy computational stuff and offloading it, which also means that if you don't have connectivity, it's not a useless brick, but it's close.
Yeah. Well, I think this is good. Just figure out what you need for school first.
Right.
Or what your student needs for school, and if they're not going to be doing photo editing, and if price is something that you're very conscious about, $400 is good. I mean, when would you think you would upgrade a $400? Could this get you from freshman to senior year of college?
Yes, that's the other advantage. Because the processing is offloaded, this will always be snappy. 4 years from now, it will be just as snappy as long as the cloud services that it uses are still in operation and are still running quickly. The other thing, another question that was asked here is, like, are there coding options? Absolutely. Go into the Google Play Store and look for any coding tool that you want. It runs on this. I think that's one of the advantages of the Chromebooks that support the Android ecosystem. There are some Chromebooks that will only run Chromebook apps. Useful, but not great. The ones that can also run Android apps means you can choose from anything. Anything you could put on your phone or your tablet, you can put on this notebook. I like that. That's actually a really, really good idea. And you know what? I've been using this thing for a while now, and I've kind of fallen in love. This is a review unit, so I got to send this one back. But I'm going to get one for myself. For a long time now, I've kind of dismissed the tablet format. This is something I think I will use as my large tablet. This is my my Android iPad Pro, but it has the advantage of it can also be a notebook if I need it to be. And with 12 hours of battery life, it just works really well. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. All right, so let's move away from the Chromebook. I know there are some people there who are dyed-in-the-wool Apple fans, and Apple makes some great hardware, but you've got a couple of tips for people who might be thinking about getting their kids a new MacBook going away to school.
Right. So my daughter, as I said, needed a laptop for school. It had to be, it could not be a Chromebook. It had to run Windows or OS 10. And so Leo and I we did an episode on the screensavers devoted to all of our options. We looked at Surface Books. We looked at, he looked at Chromebooks. We looked at iPads for other people who didn't have the same requirements. We had a whole bevy of devices out there, different price ranges, different capabilities. And when I made the choice for my daughter, I ended up getting her the MacBook Pro. So it's the new version without the touch bar, and I got it refurbished, which saved a little money. It had the Retina Display, which was recommended. Jason Snell is big on the Retina Display because he says teenagers are really used to that great screen on their phones, and they're going to be using this as a Netflix machine. They're going to be using it.
Because if you've used a Retina screen and then you go to a non-Retina or a Retina equivalent screen, things tend to look cloudy. You're just wondering, why is there something wrong? Is the screen broken? No, it's just not as sharp.
Right. So, and then my daughter likes to edit video. That is her passion.
Yeah, do it, yeah.
And when you have to encourage your kids' passion where you can. So and this is USB-C, which is a great pro for me because then she can't steal my PowerBook charger because it doesn't fit in there. So that is great. And yeah, it was $1,290.61. This was the device that I ended up getting her.
So it's refurbished, but is this the 2016?
Yes.
I can, it's always a very nice piece of hardware. Apple makes only good hardware.
Yeah, you can open it up.
Up there.
And yeah, it's got a pretty screen, and I think I do know her password. Know your kids' passwords, but you can. She's loved it. We got it for her a couple weeks ago. She's already used it, mostly to watch Grey's Anatomy, and I'm talking about the TV show, not like some sort of video.
I never watched it, but I know what it is.
Leo, and he's like, oh yeah, it's great. I'm like, no. Although I think the TV show could potentially make someone a doctor if they watch it enough. Okay, so high price tag.
Yeah, I mean, we know that. That's the thing. If you're buying an Apple product, you accept that you're paying a high price tag, but along with that high price tag, you get a really good quality product and you get support, a lot of support. People are willing to pay for that.
Right.
Now, what would be the standard price on something like brand new?
$1,400 or around $1,400, depending on the size that you get.
But this one was refurbished.
This one was refurbished, if you don't know, it just means someone bought it and returned it. Like they didn't use it for 6 months or anything. They didn't. It wasn't broken. They just bought it and didn't like it.
So they knocked like $200 off.
Yes,
because
it was about $200.
It was basically open box.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
If you're sure that you want a Mac, parents' big decision is usually between the MacBook Air and the PowerBook. The MacBook Air is around $900 for a decent MacBook Air, which is the hardware on that is about 2 years old. So you're already starting a little bit late. It's lighter if it's keyed. If they're really dragging it around everywhere, on trips and such like that, maybe the lightness is something that you want to consider. But really, if your child is going to edit any video, if they're going to do a ton of Photoshop, you could do Photoshop on the MacBook Air, but if they're really going to to want some more power, I recommend this. And here is how I saved a little money.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's the other thing. If you're going to be buying this for your student going back to school, you actually have options that are unique to you.
Yeah, so since my daughter was born in 2003, we've been putting a little money away in a 529 college savings plan. And every month it goes in there, and it's still not nearly enough to pay for what college costs.
And another thing about a 529, it's like a lot of other accounts that you can save into. It reduces the amount of tax that you have to pay, actually eliminates the tax that you have to pay because you are saving for a future education.
Right.
But also, there's a huge penalty if you want to take that money out.
Right. Yeah. If you don't want to you want to make sure this is money that you can keep in this and use for education. And that now includes computers and iPads.
I should have thought about that.
So we paid for this with the money that was in our college savings plan. And then you might say, well, what happens when your kid needs to go to college? Well, we're probably going to qualify for some financial aid. And so they're going to be taking all that money anyway. So we may as well use it. It's not cheating. It says her laptop for school. And so I did this, and I was going to recommend it to you. And then I thought, well, this is just what I chose. Does a professional really recommend doing this? So here's a message that we got from Brian Sullivan from Fiscal Dynamics, where he's a senior planner.
Hi, Megan. I'm Brian Sullivan, and I'm the senior financial planner at Fiscal Dynamics. Qualified withdrawals from a 529 plan are allowed to be used for computers, tablets, and printers, and various other dongles you may need if those items are used for higher education purposes. If you already have a printer and a computer, like the new MacBook Pro, you are allowed to use 529 money to buy a USB-C dongle for your printer. However, you are not allowed to use 529 money to buy the charging stand for your wireless Xbox game controller. The IRS considers computer technology or equipment to be qualified distribution, so that's good. From the IRS website, related peripheral equipment is defined as any auxiliary machine, whether online or off, which is designed to be placed under the control of the central processing unit. So I hope that helps, and good luck with the digital cleanse. Cheers.
So you do need an expert to navigate that.
Yes.
Because it's like, okay, a charging stand could be used for a notebook, but if you were also using it for your Xbox, it's not covered, and you would get penalized for withdrawing from the 529 to do it.
Yeah.
What I would probably do is I would just stick to the computer, maybe a monitor, and maybe a printer. Just stay on the right side of the regulations.
What about the dongles? I really want to go around saying, what'd you use your 529 plan on? I use mine on dongles.
But that is a great tip because, of course, people are always feeling the crunch around this time. Books are not cheap. Back-to-school accessories and supplies are not cheap. But if you can pull from a savings account that you've set aside for education, this is for education. That's actually a phenomenal idea.
Yes. Thank you, Brian Sullivan from Fiscal Dynamics. Thank you so much for informing us about the ins and outs of whether or not you can use dongles.
One more thing, because I'm not an Apple person, but most of my family is, and I like their hardware. The Air is going away, right? Because this MacBook Pro is essentially what the Air was 2 years ago. It's the same size, it's the same format, it's more powerful. The Air doesn't really have a place to exist in the MacBook world, does it?
No, I don't think so. And it's tempting but if you think about it, it's $999 versus $1,200 is what I paid. That's not that much of a difference for what you're getting. I would get something nicer.
All right.
I did get something nicer.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Let's keep it rolling. So we've done a Chromebook, we've done an OS X device. Let's move over to Windows. And this is kind of where I live. Now, everyone knows this. I've had this for my entire life at TWiT. This is a 5-year-old computer.
Really? It's so clean and new.
I know, right? It's the Acer S7. This thing has gone around the world with me. I do video editing on this thing, but I don't want to talk about this because my audience has heard about me talking about the S7. They know I like the S7. They know that I like the Spin 7, the successor to the S7 and the Swift 7. But let's do a little something. I recently bought a notebook for one of our Nigerian Jesuits. And we actually went to the downtown Portland. There was an Apple store right across from a Microsoft store, and we kept going back and forth. We were there for maybe 2 hours looking at every model. And he was thinking about getting a MacBook Pro, but then he finally decided on this. Alex, if you go to the link, this is the HP Spectre X360. This is the new one that they just released this year. It's an Intel i7 7600 that's a dual core 4 megabyte cache, 2.7 gigahertz, 3.5 gigahertz turbo processor, 16 gigabytes of LPDDR3 memory, a 512 gigabyte PCIe connected NVMe M.2 SSD, 13.3-inch 1920 by 1080 touchscreen. It's convertible, so it can become a tablet. Integrated graphics, 802.11 ABGN AC Wi-Fi, a 3-cell 57.8 watt-hour battery that will last you between 10 and 20 hours. I got 20 hours out of that thing just web surfing. Weighs under 3 pounds, 2.89 pounds. Phenomenal device. I'm not normally an HP fan, but they did a really, really good job with the Spectre. But you know, it's $1,400. That is a little. I mean, it was $1,400. But here's the fun part. Because it's back to school season, if you go to the Microsoft store and you show them an ID of your child, it's about $10.50. So they'll knock a good $300 plus off based on the configuration. So yeah, that makes it worthwhile.
And good for gaming, this device?
No, not at all. So if you are a parent and you want to send your kid to college or high school with a machine that doesn't do gaming really well, that's actually a good idea. Now, if you do want them to have the ability to game, or let's be more positive here, if you want them to have a machine that can do things like video editing, and even $1,000 seems to be a bit too much for you, I've got another option, and it is this. This is a hotness that we saw the previous version. This is the 2017 version of the Acer Nitro 5. It is a low-cost, affordable gaming notebook. Of course, this is going to be running Windows 10. It's an Intel i5 7300 HQ. It's a dual-core 6 megabyte cache, 2.5 gigahertz to 3.5 gigahertz turbo mode, 16 gigabytes of DDR2 memory, upgradable to 32 gigabytes. It's got an NVIDIA GTX 1050. Now that matters for both gaming and video editing because it's got a dedicated processor, a nice one, along with 4 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory, 15.6-inch 1920 by 1080 screen. This is not a touch screen, but it is an IPS display. I actually really kind of like it. They've done a good job with this thing. 256 gigabyte SATA M.2 storage, plus space for a 2.5-inch drive. This is one of the things I really like. I've already opened up the ports. They've made it really easy to upgrade. So this is the memory. If I want to upgrade my memory, I pull out these two modules and I can put into 16 gigabyte modules for 32 gigabytes of memory. And this is a full-size 2.5-inch bay. So the M.2 is inside here, but I can fill this with another SSD or with like a 4 terabyte rotating drive and get a whole lot of extra storage that's internal. There's not a lot of notebooks that do that. I think it's a great touch. I love the fact they did it on this. It does a backlit keyboard. It's got 2 cooling fans with Acer's Cool Boost, which makes sure that the fans will only run at the speed that they need to run in order to keep the laptop cool enough, which actually is kind of important. It's got 1 USB-C, which is actually USB 3.1. It's got a USB 3.0 with power off charging, so it will continue to provide power in case you want to charge your device off of that. Along with, yeah, this is a real, actual, not dongle, but actual gigabit Ethernet port, along with this. Do you remember the old X-Jack, the PCMCIA card with the little alligator clip? That's basically what this is. I kind of like it. It's a little nostalgia. Of course, a media card reader. And then on the other side here, you're going to have another 2 USB ports. There's also HDMI, the lock port, and a combo audio port. This thing is really, really well loaded. And here's the thing. It's $900.
Yeah, that's good.
That is super, super inexpensive for this. It did a PC Mark 8 benchmark of, I got 3108, which is decent. It's actually much better than what you would expect from an i5. And then the 3D Mark, it did Firestrike at 6506, which again is because of that video card. The video card really does make this thing scream. It's not really portable. I mean, this thing weighs more than 5 pounds. It's a 6-pound unit. And the power brick is kind of heavy. But if you want to send your kid to college or even to high school with a machine that can do all the video editing and the gaming, that's a really good option.
Video editing.
Video editing.
Okay, here's what I like about this. Being able to upgrade is great. So maybe they can earn the money to upgrade, and just teaching them that our devices aren't all locked up in these, silver glued cages. I think those are great lessons for students.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, so they sent me the previous version of this, And I actually took it with me to Orlando to do the video editing for a gig I was doing over there. And I just wanted to test it. And I brought an i7 notebook because I thought, when I'm doing video editing, this i5 is going to just kill it. I mean, everything must be i7. This kicked the crud out of the i7 equipped notebook because of that video card, because of the dedicated graphics. So, I mean, i5, yeah, it's not as fast as the i7, but for the things that matter, gaming and video editing, it is much faster than even a more expensive i7 without a discrete graphics part. So, yeah, consider that.
I got a lot of fingerprints on that. I apologize.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it is kind of a fingerprint magnet. I wish they would fix that, but you know, for this price, they're not going to be able to give you the finest materials. They do have to make sure that it's affordable. And I think they've done a really good job with this. In fact, I'm probably going to get one of these the next time I have to head over to Rome because they want another mobile workstation. I gave them a Predator, but that thing was a $2,000 plus machine. You know, I can get one of these for $800 by the time I leave, and it will do everything they needed to do. Yeah. Ultimately, that's what it's about, right? It's a tool.
Right.
It's not a statement. It's not a fashion accessory.
No.
It's a tool, and you want a tool to do what you need the tool to do.
Right. So that's the important lesson here. Find out what you need to do first before you buy.
Speaking of tools that are needed to do things, you know what I want to do now, Megan?
What?
I want to go ahead and pay some bills with a sponsor of Know How. Now, we are talking about a lot of back-to-school stuff, right? And we're talking about very expensive equipment, phones, tablets, notebooks, backpacks, all the little accessories that your child needs when they go back to school. Or if they're going to college, they need to make sure that they're not going to be losing any of the really expensive tools that they have in their backpack. Well, you could do it the old-fashioned way. And the old-fashioned way is just really, please don't lose anything. Or you could get the tracker. Now, the tracker is quite simply the thing that saves my butt every time I start walking away from my laptop or stop walking away from my phone. This is it right here. It's a tiny coin-sized device operated off of a coin battery that allows you to sync with your phone, up to 10 of these, and gives you the ability to know exactly where your device is at all times. Now, there's a ritual to looking for your keys. You all know this. Maybe first you check the obvious places. You check the couch, kitchen, your pockets. Then the weird places, the bathroom, the fridge, the hamper. For me, it's always, for some reason, it's the chapel. I have to go back to the chapel, and it's probably fallen out of my pocket while I was sitting. It's on a floor, it's in the carpet. Again, we all have our little rituals of the places that we most often lose our things, but what if you could get rid of that? What if, instead of being creative, you get smart? 8 years ago, Tracker changed everything when they released their first tracking device, and now they've done it again with the all-new Tracker Pixel. With the Tracker Pixel, you'll never worry about losing your things again. It's the lightest Bluetooth tracking device on the market. You can place the Tracker Pixel on whatever you tend to lose, be it your keys, your wallet, your cat, your phone, and it's small enough to fit on your smallest items. When you misplace an item that has a Tracker Pixel attached, you can use your smartphone, and a 90 decibel alert will help you find it in seconds. It even has a powerful LED light so you can find your items in the dark. Now, if you lose your phone, believe it or not, you can do the whole process in reverse. You just press the button on the Tracker Pixel and your phone rings even if it's set for silence. How useful is that? You can even locate your item if it's miles away, because even though the Tracker is a Bluetooth device, which is typically very short range, it's part of a huge crowd locate network. It's, in fact, the largest group GPS, group location network in the world. And Tracker's 30-day money-back guarantee means that you truly have nothing to lose. Folks, we know that you love your devices. We know that you want your gadgets. We know that you hate it when you lose them. So why not get a Tracker and get a peace of mind? Just go to the Tracker, that's TheTracker.com, and enter the promo code KNOWHOW to save 20% off any order. Again, that's the Tracker, TheTracker.com, promo code KNOWHOW for 20% off. Never lose your tech again. And we thank Tracker for the support of Know How. Okay, Megan, let's switch gears a little bit. We're still going to stay in the back-to-school vein, but we've got a little bit of feedback from Sean Miller, who is all about meshing.
Sean says, I wish to make my own mesh Wi-Fi network using Powerline networking as the backbone. I don't want to spend $100 or more per node, so I figure maybe I can make it work. The main router is a D-Link DIR850 located upstairs and connected to a TP-Link power line adapter. Downstairs on opposite corners of the house, I have two TP-Link AV500s to act as access points. Even turning down the transmission power, I still have a bit of overlap, but I want the system to be bulletproof so my wife will stop complaining about dropouts. My question is, should I set the same SSID and password for all 3 Wi-Fi points? Should I set the same 2.4 gigahertz channel on all 3? How seamless will the handoff be from one device to the other? Let's solve his problem because we do not want wives to complain.
No.
Wives. Wives or wives.
Sister wife. I watched an episode of that show. That was weird.
Well, wives all over the world. I'm not saying
Yes,
you have more than one wife. If you
Got
have
it.
more than one
Got
wife,
it.
then we really need to solve this problem.
Now, of course, first of all, he's done something very, very good. He's talked about turning the power down. Kudos to you. That means you've been paying attention. Thank you very much. The natural inclination when people see that little transmit level is to choose the highest power level, right? Because, I mean, yeah, more power is better. Power is good. He's listened to us. What we've told him is, in many cases, when you've got these high density areas where there's a lot of APs, turning up the power is actually counterproductive. It's like going into the middle of a room and screaming. If it's just you, yeah, people can hear your voice all around. Now fill that room with people and have everyone scream. It becomes cacophony. So what we've always told people to do is you turn the power level down as much as you possibly can before you start losing signal. That allows you to have multiple devices in the same area and they're not trying to compete with each other. So that's good. His other questions are also very good, and we need to address them. First, he wants to know if he should set the SSID all for the same thing, or, and I've seen people do this, they'll say like my house 1, my house 2, my house 3. And he also wants to know if they should be on the same channel. Good questions, very good questions. If you want a full breakdown, go to our Networking 101 series. We did actually address wireless, but let's answer this right now. First of all, for the SSID, if you want any sort of handoff, it needs to be exactly the same SSID. And when I mean exactly, I mean exactly. Caps and lowercase are different. If you have one that's capital M, my house, and one that's all lowercase, my house, they're not the same network. You will have to enter your credentials for both. However, if you've got my house across all the access points that you have, your device, and they're using the same password and the same authentication method, your device should be able to go from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. Caveat, and this is, you're gonna get people complaining that this doesn't work for them. That's about the client. The client that you're using, it being your phone, your laptop, your tablet, has to be smart enough to be able to release itself from one base station and attach to another one when the signal is low. And unfortunately, there's no really good gauge of which clients are good or which clients are bad. They handle it differently. For example, Apple tends to be really, really aggressive about staying with the base station. So it doesn't release as quickly as some other devices. But that's a choice that they've made because they figured that most people are going to have one base station in the house and therefore it should do everything it possibly can, including jacking up the power on both ends to stay connected. Other devices won't do that. So you need to look at your manufacturing specs to see what it's going to do when it tries to hand off. The second thing here is when you are dealing with drop-offs, what you want to do is you want to run some sort of client that will help you find signal strength. And this doesn't just mean going from room to room with a laptop. Have you done that where you're trying to make sure that you've got service everywhere?
Right, every corner. Even if I never want to use the internet there, I just want to know that I can if I ever need to.
Exactly. But we've shown it up before. Wi-Fi Analyzer is a free application on Android, and there's equivalent on iOS, where you can just go through the house and it will show you which SSIDs it sees and the signal strength of those SSIDs. And just go to every corner and test it that way, because that at least gives you whether or not the RF energy is making it to that spot. That's actually a very important fact.
So Wi-Fi Analyzer, that's the one you recommend?
Well, on Android.
Okay.
Yeah, if you put Wi-Fi Analyzer into iOS, you'll get the equivalent.
Okay.
The other thing is he asked about channels. And people get confused all the time because they hear SSID should be the same, so they assume the channel should be the same. No, absolutely not. Don't do that. That's the best way to make sure that you're decreasing the throughput that you can get. They're in the 2.4 gigahertz range, which he has to use because unfortunately the device that he's chosen only has a 2.4 gigahertz radio. There are only 3 channels. I know it lists 11. There are only 3. 1, 6, and 11. If you use any other channel, what's happening is you're creating an overlap. And that overlap means that you're going to have two channels that are interfering with each other, and that decreases the amount of available bandwidth. How many APs do you have in your house?
How many APs do I have?
Access points. Is it just one?
I have a Sonic router. Sonic's the sponsor, and it's tri-band, and I have the Eero. So
Okay.
I have also a sponsor. I have the Eero with the new one, which you just plug it in. So we have one plugged in my room and one plugged in the hallway. So yeah.
Now, did you do any channel setting at all?
No, usually I just talk to the friendly people at Sonic, and
Okay.
they answer the phone at any hour of the day. We're buds, and I say, here's what I want, and then they usually help me out.
Now, that you can probably get away with that because those devices, I'm betting, are probably using 5.8 gigahertz. And there are so many, there are 24 available channels on 5.8 gigahertz realistically, whereas there's only 3 on 2.4. And those have been slammed. They're completely full at all times.
Right, because I have Echoes, and I
Yep.
have the Smart Lock, and I have all the things.
Yeah, which is why anytime I'm looking at a new device, if it doesn't support 5.8 gigahertz, I just won't get it. It's just, no, that's not, it's not for me because my environment, living at a school with literally dozens of access points within earshot of me, I can't use 2.4. It is completely blotted out. It's completely useless.
So sadly, you can't get the new Amazon wand that you just shoot at stuff. And
I have one, and I was playing with it in Portland, and then I got it back to San Francisco. Done. The other thing is, let's look at the units that he's using. Alex, if you go here, he's actually using the TP-Link. It's the AV500, but it's the range extender version, so it's a power line unit. The whole idea is that smaller plug is going to go next to the router. He plugs an Ethernet cable into it. Then it's going to use the actual wiring of the house instead of a Cat5 cable to get to the larger unit, which is going to allow him to extend his Wi-Fi.
big sigh.
Big sigh. I like TP-Link. They've made some good gear. This is not in their list of good gear. And it's not just them. Power line units are so hit or miss because it depends on the wiring that you've got in your house. It works well over copper if you have one of the houses that's got aluminum wiring. Not so well over aluminum. There's too much signal interference. You will get random dropouts. I guarantee you, random dropouts. So even though there's signal, even though you've got a Wi-Fi signal, it just won't work. And I can also guarantee that within 18 months, one of those is going to break. There's something about power line networking, it's just not ready for prime time. There's so many unknowns that unless you're in a new house with good wiring that was professionally done, you're gonna run into networking problems. That's just a thing. My personal preference, and unfortunately I know he probably can't do this, is to run cable. But if this is what you got, that's what you got. So what we'd say is just follow what we just told you. Make sure you're using the same SSID. Make sure you're using different channels, either 1, 6, or 11, and not overlapping. And then also buy your wife some roses and make sure she's okay with occasionally losing service.
And just sometimes maybe you want to have like spaces in your house that you don't want to have the internet, to be more mindful. I'm just kidding. Who wants that? No one wants that.
I was like, wait, what? No, even our chat, actually, a few years ago, we've got a beautiful retreat house in Los Gatos. And it's up in, Los Altos. It's up in the Los Altos Hills. It's a very foofy environment. We were there first. So it's super expensive property, but when we moved in, there was nobody there. It overlooks the Bay Area. You can see everything in the Bay. And one of the things I used to love about it is there was no cell service, no networking, no nothing. I just went up 2 months ago, and now every room is wired. There's wireless access points everywhere, and they have a cellular repeater on the campus. So I'm thinking, okay, I get it. People want to be connected, but can there be any place where I can't be reached? I don't know. This is the wrong show for that. Yeah. All right, folks, when we come back, I've actually got some power accessories that I'm excited about. And I don't normally get excited about power accessories. But before we do that, I'm going to look over to, Grizzly Alex, I think. I have to say this. I'm coming back after 2 months, and I don't know exactly what happened to our TD. Alex.
I didn't do it.
Could you show them?
Yeah, I don't have a camera on me, but I do have some footage of myself recently that I can just kind of cut to.
That's pretty much, yeah.
Just working on the TriCaster.
Folks, I kid you not, that actually is our new Grizzly Alex.
At the TriCaster, too.
I don't know if this was a dare.
And wasn't behaving that day.
So folks, yeah, that's our new TD. He's going to push a button. We'll be right back after these messages.
Previously on Twit.
I ordered something to celebrate our friends to the north.
Oh.
Oh, Canada.
Who is that?
It's Reddy
That's a
Caldwell
woman.
riding a moose.
I don't. Some days things turn quickly here.
Home Theater Geeks.
In episode 366, I chat with audio legend Bob Carver about what he's up to these days.
One of the problems with tube amplifiers is that the tubes wear out in about 3 years, the output tubes, and they're expensive. So I developed a circuit. It's called a DC Restore, and so the output tubes now last about 50 years in my amps.
The new screensavers.
This is somebody, you're excited because you saw the presentation at DEF CON.
Yes, and it was a classic.
This is a robot that cracked a safe from scratch.
Yeah, pieced together with some 3D printing, an Arduino, a couple servos, a motor, and a power supply, and we were able to build a robot that opens up safes.
Oh! This
Now,
was the best part of DEF CON.
Twit. Take it to the bank.
And we are back. Okay, Megan, so we've had two notebooks here, the MacBook and the Chromebook, that use USB-C. But here's the thing. If your child, if your man-child, your semi-adult, is going to be going off into the world, they're going to need to be able to power these devices. Oh, there's a company called Anker that for many, many years, you used their power products, you just didn't know it because they were OEMing devices that other brands would put their names on, right?
Like what brands, do we know?
I shouldn't mention the brands.
Oh.
But I'll just say, if you bought a power product in the last 10 years, you probably used an Anker product even if you didn't know it. Then about 3 years ago at CES, I was talking to one of their executives and he said, look, we realize we make some of the best power products in the world. Why are we allowing other businesses to put their names on our stuff? So they started releasing it on their own and they've made some phenomenal power products. And I've got two. The two that I think would be great for a back to schooler. This one is the Fusion 5000. Now, Alex, if you go to the link for this, it's a power pack, but it's also a wall wart. So this has its own AC to DC adapter in it. 18.5 watt hours of capacity, which is not a lot, but that's enough to power, say, your iPhone once. You can charge it from dead to full. It supports Power IS and voltage boost, which means it will do fast charging. It will support up to 2.1 amps per plug when it's plugged in, or up to 3 amps per plug when it's single, which means it can fast charge. So all of your tablets and your phones that can take more than just 5 watts, this will fast charge them altogether. What I really like about this is in this compact size, they've given you in essentially what is the footprint of just the charger, a charger and a power bank. And that's phenomenal. That's perfect for me. And another thing that I like about this is I can charge the unit while it's charging devices connected to it simultaneously. There are a lot of power products out there that when you plug it in, they can either charge the internal battery or they can charge the device, but not both at the same time. This can do it. I really like it. And the great thing is this is only $26. This is something that you can throw into your backpack and it replaces your charger and it gives you power on the go. So again, this is the Anker PowerCore Fusion 5000, something that I really appreciate. I think it's a well-made product.
I like it.
What do you think?
I have, I can't remember the brand, but I do have a power brick that is also a power, you can plug it in like that, but it's bigger and it's bulkier. So that is nice. And it was also more expensive than that. So.
Yeah. But here's the thing. This is good for what you would traditionally use it for, which is powering phones and maybe even a tablet. Not so great on laptops. It's not really going to provide enough power through that USB-C port, which, by the way, it does have a USB-C port, to really give you enough. If I plugged it into a MacBook Pro, it would show the charging icon, but it's actually discharging. It's just discharging more slowly. So that's why we've got this. This monster is actually the Anker PowerCore 26800 Plus. This thing is a monster. This does, what is it, 26.8 amp hours. That's 96.48 watt hours of capacity. It's got two 15-watt USB ports, that's 3 amp max, one 30-watt USB-C port, which will work on MacBook Pros, and it comes with a 27-watt wall charger so that I can fast charge the battery. I can go from dead to full in about 4 hours, which for this capacity is amazing. Now, it also supports Power IQ, so I can do fast charging off of this. It weighs just under 600 grams, so that's about 1.3 pounds. But here's the thing. Let's put the power into perspective, because 96.48 watt hours is just a number. What does that number mean? Well, the iPhone 7 has a 7.45 or 11.1 watt hour battery. The OnePlus 5, which is my new phone, has a 12 watt battery. The Acer Chromebook that we just played with has a 18 watt hour battery, and that supports it for 12 hours. The MacBook Pro that you just showed off has a 49.2 watt hour battery. That means on a single charge, this can charge your iPhone 8 to 13 times. It can charge my OnePlus about 7 to 8 times. It can charge a high-end Chromebook like the one that we just showed off 5 times, and it can charge a MacBook Pro roughly twice.
That's nice. I'm gonna just see if this works.
You want to top it off?
Mm-hmm. Top off my.
Yeah. What I'm going to do is, because it's got a USB-C port, see, I can just plug it into your MacBook, like so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's charging the MacBook.
That's charging the MacBook.
That's awesome.
And so this could be in your child's bag, and they'll have all-day power. I mean, how long does it last on a charge?
I have no idea. Probably a day.
A day. So this would basically give you 3 days of power with the internal battery. On this Chromebook, because it will charge my Chromebook, 5 times, I can get about 4 to 5 days of power off my Chromebook. I can power my phone on this thing for a week. So, I mean, this is one of these devices where it really enables all the technology that you have. And it's just so well made. I mean, it's anodized aluminum. It's not a plasticky kit. It comes with all the accessories that you need. They've done a really good job. And Alex, if you go back to that link, it's $80. That's probably going to be the best $80 you spend if you have USB-C power devices.
I love it.
Yeah.
I want them all.
I want them all, right? It's like Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with all of my power banks. They disappear into, my children borrow them, and then they come to me and they're like, do you have a power bank that's charged? Like, no, because you took it and didn't charge it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and the other cool thing about this is if you still want to travel with your USB-C charger, this does charge off of that same charger. Oh. So again, you're reducing the amount of equipment that you have to carry with. You don't have to carry one charger for the power bank and one charger for the laptop. It's one charger, which charges the battery, which can also charge the laptop.
All they need is a little pad on top there to charge my Apple Watch, and we're good.
I actually have that.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Why do you have it? You don't have an Apple Watch.
No, but I made it.
Oh, you made it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, you know what? I should give that to you. Well, we still have to do it. It's a know-how project.
Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and do one last bit. I know we've been gone for a while. I did want to show some of the cool projects that the Kitas have been showing off in our Google Plus group. We've got a little something from David Peach. Megan, what did he make?
David says, I wrote this Instructable last week. I didn't think to include it here at the time, but today I was thinking that it has LEDs in it. I must include a link to it.
This is one of these things where, duh, of course we should make that. How many of us have been in our trunks in the evening and
like
you can't
inside
find,
the trunk?
Well, no, I mean like. How many of us live in our trunks and you're like, man, it's dark in here? No.
I mean, how many of us have been shoved into the trunk of a car against
Look at
our
that.
will?
That is so well made.
It is good.
I really like it. And he's tied it to the power. I was telling him he needs to make another one using WS2812 LEDs on the inside of the car. So like at night it would be red and towards the morning it would be blue. And that way it would preserve your night vision. But yeah, this is something that's so easy to do. And yet, duh, yes, everyone should do it. David, fantastic idea. I'm going to steal it. We're going to be doing this on Know-How, different ways of equipping LED lights inside your car. And the trunk is a natural fit because who of us has a trunk that we've said, oh yeah, there's way too much light in here?
Who are we going to shove into that trunk to test it, to see if it works when it's closed?
There's really only one candidate for that.
Okay.
Burke.
He would like it.
By the way, did you hear my theory? What we should do with Burke. Mm-hmm. So I stopped by the brick house the other day, and just for giggles, I swiped my fob past the little door control, and it still worked. I didn't go in, because that would be breaking and entering, but I was thinking, if Burke moved into the basement, it's been a year since we've been gone.
And no one's in there, by the way.
And no one's in there, yeah. It's actually the same. The screws are still on the floor from when we left. But if he goes in there, when they try to kick him out, he can claim squatter's rights. He can say, I've been here for a year.
He says, Padre, no.
All right, folks, we know that this has been a lot of information. All the products that we've taken a look at, we're going to make sure that the links for them inside of our show notes. And by the way, next week we're going to be going in depth. We're going to be showing you some very interesting techniques that you could use to protect yourself on your new campus. But don't forget that you can find everything at twit.tv/KH. If you go there, you'll find not just all of our back episodes, but also the notes attached to those episodes. And I promise we're going to get much better at doing that. Also, and very importantly, right next to it, you're going to find a little drop-down menu to subscribe. If you want to support Know-How, if you want to spread the word, if you want to make sure that we stay on the air, subscribe. Help us. Find the version that works for you, the audio version, the video version, or the high-definition video version, and make sure that all the Know-How goodness is downloaded into your device of choice each and every single week. Also, don't forget that we are on the social, specifically Google+. Yes, there is still Google+. And yes, it's probably the most active group we have here at Twit. Just go to Google+, look for Know-How, very short approval process to get in. But once you're in, you get access to over 11,000 Kitas who you can educate, who can inspire you, or can show off the project so that we can put it here on Know-How. Don't forget, you can also find us on Twitter. Megan, where are you?
I'm at Megan Maroney on Twitter.
And you're going to find me at PadreSJ on Twitter. And we've got a third member of our crew. I always forget his name. What is it?
I don't know. He's very hairy.
He wants to be called Jenny. So we're going to call him Jenny. You can find Jenny at twitter.com/.
Excuse me, Padre. It's pronounced RJ McReady. Helicopter pilot stationed at Antarctic Research Base, U.S. Outpost 31.
You are really taking this whole beard thing to another level. You know that, right, Jenny?
That's what the J
RJ.
stands for.
RJ.
The J stands for Jenny.
You can find RJ. You can find RJenny at ANELF3. I do want to take a little bit of time here. Some actually interesting news. For the last 3 years, if you've been watching Know-How, you know that we've built up this show from something very different. The original version of Know-How was different. We turned it more into a maker show. We turned it more into a buddy show. We turned it more into a show about the things that we enjoyed doing. And half of that experience was Brian Burnett. Along with me, I think there was only 5 episodes before he came in. And this Know-How has been, well, just our heartwarming project. We've enjoyed it so much. Well, this last week, Brian Burnett has moved on from Twit. He's no longer with us, but he will be back. We will see him again. He is moving into a new venture. He's moving into another phase of his life, and I have nothing but respect for him. Know-How wouldn't be what it is without him each and every single week, offering everything that the Cranky Hippo can do. And believe it or not, I will be bugging him every chance I get to come back onto the show. You will see us together in content outside of Twit. This is just how the industry works, and people have to change, and we have to adapt to the change. But to Brian, because I know you're watching right now, and hopefully you'll stay part of the Know-It-All group. Bro, love you, and we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you very much, and come back every chance you get. So Brian Burnett, sir, we salute you. Until next time, I am Father Robert Ballecer.
I am Megan Maroney.
And now that you know how, go back to school.